Hey guys, welcome back to Fourth Wall Reactions. Today I am taking a look back on Series 4 before I move on to Series 5 with the new Doctor. Technically, same Doctor, different actor, but you know what I mean. So normally I give it a little more time before I do these look backs or wrap ups or reviews. I call them different things. Who review? Normally, I will go ahead and watch the first couple of episodes in the next series before doing this, just to give it time to really get some perspective on the series and, give the comments. But I feel like, because not only am I going to be starting off Series 5 with a new Doctor, the companions will be different as well, I'm assuming. So in a way, I feel like I'm starting the show all over again. So I kind of want to do this part before I even start recording Series 5 reactions. Now, I mean, just schedule-wise, it's just going to happen that I'll be editing Tennant episodes while recording Smith episodes. And that happened with Eccleston Tennant as well. It was a little discombobulating, but I at least want to get this part out first. So I guess the only reason I mention it is it might not be as thorough or in-depth as they normally get to be. But who knows? We'll see. I don't know. There really is no other place to start than with the Doctor, because David Tennant's time on the show is no more. And maybe he'll come back in one of these, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, mind-twisty sort of meetups with himself. Maybe a guest starring role. I don't know. But for all intents and purposes, there's no more David Tennant on this show. And I just want to start out by saying how much I enjoyed David Tennant as the Doctor. I really loved him. Even more than that, I found him to be delightful. Honestly. He just had so much joy in his performances, and it was so much fun to watch. I think right off the bat, what I really loved about him, I think in the Christmas Invasion, we got these rapid fire speeches. I mean, Christopher Eccleston had done that similarly as the Doctor, but David Tennant was like, woo! It took me a while to catch up to what he was saying because he was going so fast. It was very impressive, the skill that he had with language. And then the first proper episode that he had all the way through, like in the series proper, he got to go really broad with the possession, the body swap by Cassandra. Like right off the bat, he was just doing these crazy things. But he also had moments where he could be so subtle and delicate. And I really appreciated those moments as well. And appreciated the fact that he could switch between the two. So I really love that about him quite a bit. Like in The Runaway Bride, even just after all these moments, huge moments of manic comedy and then rage and wrath, and I always remember that moment at the very end of Runaway Bride where Donna asked about his companion, and he just said very simply her name was Rose, and it just, like, his soulfulness just really came through then, and he had such great range as the Doctor. I enjoyed that so much. And you got to see other moments like that, like in School Reunion and Girl in the Fireplace, where certain other characters sort of brought out that soft side in him and his emotional side. And with Martha at the end of Gridlock, when he's telling her about the story of his Time Lord people. And then I really loved his performances in some of my favorite episodes, which also happen to be some of my favorite Tennant performances, were the two-parter in Series 3, Human Nature and the Family of Blood. Love that. And then this past series with Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead, which, hit a lot of those notes, the really big dramatic notes and then the really sort of quiet emotional notes that he could do. And like, you know, the zany stuff like the Cassandra body swap and the the detox sequence in The Unicorn and the Wasp, which was just hilarious for both he and Catherine Tate. I was thinking the other day of how much I enjoyed his performance in Midnight, just his tears of frustration of not being able to move, and of his words being manipulated by another life form. And I like to compare it a little bit. It's not the exact same thing, but compare it a little bit to when he was possessed by Cassandra. And just like the exact opposite thing of, you know, just a performance that's so big and broad, and then something that is so small and intense. It just, he's great. He's great. So I love me some Tennant. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the 10th Doctor. And I will miss him greatly. As far as the Doctor's storyline in this series, looking back, and not having a lot of time to look back, but looking back, it struck me that he had a lot of recurring instances where he was willing to step up and sacrifice himself for either another person or the good of the world. Now, I mean, he has done that before. Like, he sacrificed himself for Rose in the finale of series 1. He had other moments where he was willing to give up his life in order to accomplish an end. But I mean, it kept happening in this series. In The Poison Sky, where he said goodbye to both Martha and Donna, if that kid had not come through, he would have sacrificed. And again, in Forest of the Dead, he was willing to step up and be sacrificed. And that, I don't think that's uncommon for the Doctor to do, but like this recurring theme kept happening. So I should not have been surprised by how it all turned out. I am taking a guess. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that with how things turned out with Donna, that Catherine Tate will not be back again. I mean, maybe it might be easier for Donna to see a Doctor with a different face. Maybe she won't be reminded, but I think that she was so connected with him that I think she would know. So I'm guessing there's no more Donna at any point. But, you know, this show always surprises me, and I could be wrong. I have to say, I had no expectations of Catherine Tate. I mean, other than The Runaway Bride, which I actually really ended up loving Donna quite a bit from that. Like, thinking of how she started in that special, you know, you gotta kind of cut her some slack, because here she was on her wedding day, and she was not only ripped away from that, she was sent to outer space with an alien. I could imagine that being very discombobulating. But I think throughout the rest of that special, she showed that she could do a lot of different colors and different emotions. And, you know, she had a lot of more subtle moments towards the end as well. So I was really pleased to see that continue in the series. So with Catherine Tate, I think I'd seen her a couple times on The Office. I'm not a big Office watcher, but she seemed familiar to me, but I really wasn't that familiar with her work. I have to say, I was really impressed with her range. I mean, she has such great comic timing, and she's so funny, and, you know, the improv scene in Partners in Crime when she first sees him through the window again, which was hilarious. And the detox scene and The Unicorn and the Wasp, and a whole lot of different just Donna moments that Catherine Tate played so well. And she has such great timing. And it doesn't even have to be big, broad comedy. You know, like the Doctor thinking that she was leaving in the Sontaran strategy. And then she's just sitting there like, just waiting for it to hit him. And she's not going anywhere. She's like, you Dumbo. Those moments were great. But she also proved that she could be a very subtle, dramatic actress as well. She had some really great emotional scenes. I'm thinking specifically of Planet of the Ood and The Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead, and towards the end as well. I think one of her moments that really gutted me was watching her mind get overloaded by all this doctor information, all this Time Lord stuff that she just couldn't handle. I thought she was brilliant in those scenes because she mimicked David Tennant's like rapid fire blah 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 perfectly, but she brought when the breakdown came of like she can't handle it. Oh, that killed me. So I really loved Catherine Tate. I thought she did an amazing job, and I am specifically gonna search out more of her projects because I would like to see more of her. Even if she never comes back as Donna, I'm still gonna go see some more Catherine Tate. And as for Donna herself, I have to say I'm not ranking companions because I think that the three main ones that I've seen so far have been so different, and each one has brought a different dynamic with the Doctor, and they each have such distinct personalities. And Donna had plenty of personality. Oh my God. What I really love about Donna is just how, whether it was the writing or just the show, I just, in whatever context it was, they were not afraid to show Donna's flaws and her shortcomings. I loved Martha. I thought Martha was just adorable. And I really admired Martha because she was so smart and capable, and she just walked into any situation and just, handled it. It was, that's kind of like how we would want to be in those situations. And I feel like for me, Donna is how I would actually be. Just when you don't understand something, she could lose her temper or lose her patience. She's kind of a short fuse. Her first reaction to the Ood was like, oh, she just wasn't sure, like just based on what it looked like. She was like, oh, I don't know. And similarly, and one of the most touching moments of the series for me was when she asked to hear the Ood song and just got too overwhelmed by it. Just couldn't handle it and apologized for not being able to handle it. I think that's how a lot of us would really be going into these situations that are larger than life, and all throughout aliens and space travel and time travel and all this stuff. She doesn't step into the situation all perfect and just gets it done. I just like that about the character. And I did so love her dynamic with the Doctor. I mean, it was like siblings or best friends, and it's so adorable that the Doctor referred to her in the specials as his best friend. I mean, thinking of time being relative to the Doctor, Donna spent relatively very little time with him along his lifetime. But yet their connection was so strong that he would call her his best friend, which I thought was adorable and accurate. I like that this show has been able to establish different dynamics with each companion. I mean, so obviously with Rose, there was a romantic interest kind of angle there, but it was also Rose being so young and so adventurous and new to life. There was like a little bit, particularly in series 1, and I know that's Eccleston, but just as far as this new Who Doctor goes, there was a bit of a student-teacher kind of dynamic at the beginning. And with Martha, even though she definitely had romantic feelings for him, and he did not have for her, I always maintained throughout that series that he saw her as more of a colleague, like, just from what they had in common with science and her analytical mind. And I remember him quizzing her before she even went off with him, like on the moon. And he was really impressed with her intelligence and how she thought. So I always thought they had like a really nice friend/colleague dynamic. And, here's Donna, who's not afraid to call him on his crap. And they just had this wonderful dynamic together. And I know that also comes from the two actors being so familiar with each other. And I'm sure having a really fun dynamic all of their own. So, if Rose was the Doctor's heart and Martha was the Doctor's mind, then I guess Donna would be the Doctor's soul. Not like soulmate, but just, within the best friend context. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but I feel like that's been the dynamic so far of each one. And I think from start to finish, Donna had a really incredible arc from going from, super temp, someone who was struggling in their daily life. Kind of like Rose in that way too, where they just, sort of felt like they were coming from nothing and they wanted to go on great adventures with the Doctor. And Donna being sort of transformed from someone who thought of herself as nothing special to, being Time Lord infused and to being sort of elevated and being known as the Dr. Donna. But I do feel like ultimately her story is kind of sad in a really bittersweet way, because for her own good, she had to have all those memories wiped. So even though she has had a happily ever after, it's still not, at least she's alive, but it's only half her life. It's only half of reality. So in that way, I think it's very bittersweet, but I'm glad that what reality she has is very happy, positive, joy-filled one. So she had a great storyline and great performances from Catherine Tate, so I'm all on board with Donna. Anybody who can piece together that they're in an alternate reality and their body is not really theirs and still be upset that they were dieting all that time, I'm on board with. Because that would be me. So yeah, both David Tennant and Catherine Tate are gems. I am going to miss them greatly. I'm going to miss Donna's character. I won't miss the Doctor's character because he's continuing. In addition to having all of the Doctor's new Who companions return, in some cases several times over, like Martha, but particularly the end of the series and then the end of the specials, we also had a lot of really great characters throughout the episodes. I, of course, went insane for the adipose. That will never change. Sometimes I stop and think about how nasty it actually is. These little creatures made of like fat, like a can of Crisco shortening running around with eyes and a mouth and little teeth and stuff. And yet, so cute. And of course, I love my Ood, and I love that they played a pretty prominent role in this series. And of course, I got introduced to River Song, and I really enjoyed her a lot, both the character and the actress. So whenever I do come into this era of River Song's story, I'm going to be very happy. I already know that, so I'm looking forward to that. And we really didn't go back in time too much throughout the series. But I really like the actress who played Agatha Christie. And despite not knowing anything about the whole mystery whodunit thing, I actually really enjoyed that episode. And I learned something new about a historical figure that I had no idea. I didn't know about Agatha Christie's disappearance. And even a lot of the sort of more supporting characters that you kind of forget about after the fact, even like in the Sontaran strategy, I even forget his name as we speak, but the kid, Discount Mark Zuckerberg, the annoying one, he actually had a really nice little mini arc and he played it really well. He did a great job. What was it? Ross the soldier. His name I remember, the soldier that died, but who was hanging out with the Doctor. Just a lot of really very colorful characters that popped up that I really enjoyed. Jenny, Time Lady, or just Gallifreyan. I'm going to talk about that later because this whole what it is to be a Time Lord thing just kept cropping up this series. And I thought that was interesting and worthy of more exploration than I think it got. Even little Jethro and Dee Dee. I mean, I obviously could not stand Jethro's parents. But Jethro himself actually was quite interesting. He was a smart kid, but he was pressured by his parents. You could see a lot of conflict in him. Yeah, just a lot of really colorful characters that were a lot of fun and great stories. Now, I usually do an episode spectrum because I can't rank anything to save my life. I was thinking about it, and I would have to say there really isn't anything I would put on like the lower end of the spectrum. Like if I did a rewatch, I would rewatch the whole thing. I like the Sontaran two-parter might have been, but they had Martha in it and a story with Unit, and I just a lot of elements that make that really worthwhile, worth a second watch. And, you know, even though, as I said, I understood none of the references in the Agatha Christie one, but I watched that again because it was so much fun and the performances were so great. So it's going to be pretty simple doing an episode spectrum because it just put most of them in the high column. I mean, it's really good. I had so much fun with the very first episode with Partners in Crime. Just because it was the Doctor and Donna for the first time running around crazy and adipose, and it was just so funny and so entertaining and such a great start to the series. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep doing that. Just, you have to pardon me. I really loved The Fires of Pompeii, particularly just the direction that it went, just in the end of it being so serious and the twist of the Doctor really being responsible for what was going to happen. The Doctor having to make that choice, although I would argue that, you know, the lava creatures themselves played a big part of that, as did eventually the cause of them losing their home planet. But the Doctor did have to make that terrible choice. And there were just so many great moments in it. I'm not going to sit here and list them. It was a great episode. Followed by the Oods. I mean, the series just kept all the good ones coming for me because I love the Ood. Always have loved the Ood. And then you get the whole Ood prediction of your song must end. And the Dr. Donna. I thought that a lot of the little clues were really built in nicely, like the disappearance of the planets and the Rose sightings, like right from the beginning. Those first 3 episodes had a lot of that stuff. I really loved Turn Left. It was really great to see a Donna-centric episode, which is not just about Donna. It played into the series as a whole, which I thought was a great plot. And it's always really interesting to think of how your life would have ended up differently had you made one different choice. And I kind of like how they kept showing the reverberations of that choice and how everybody else would have died had Donna not gone along with him. So that was a really great story. And I did, of course, love the 2-part finale, but I think I loved it more for all the characters coming together. I mean, I liked the story as well. It was really plot heavy towards the end. I just loved the coming together of all the different companions, past and present, and all the different organizations and all of that was really great. The last 2 episodes were very, very plot heavy. And I do think they did a good job of introducing the concepts. You know, kind of had hints of Rose coming back and hints of the planets disappearing and all those hints and bees and everything. The disadvantage of someone like me who has not seen any classic Who is when you do reintroduce a villain from that era. I could see where the show would be kind of caught, because if they did too much like planting the seeds earlier on, then the people who are familiar with Classic Who are going to know. It's not going to be a great reveal. But then you do a great reveal, and the people like me who don't know are like, oh, okay. Like, I had no idea. So I think on that level, it can be kind of tough. This series, I think, was the first that it really occurred to me is that this show has so many great ideas and great stories Some of them I feel like could be more developed and could use a little more build up to that point. Like the Dalek part was, great because I'd already seen Daleks, and I really loved the reintroduction of I know I got the Dalek names mixed up, but the reintroduction of the Dalek who escaped in series 3 from the Daleks of Manhattan. That part I really loved. I feel like I wish I had kind of known more about Davros, and he kind of just appeared and then he was gone. But I think within that limited time frame, they encapsulated what he was all about. And now I have something to look forward to when I watch Classic Who. So there you go. With that episode, I thought it was really interesting that they introduced the Doctor's clone, but mixed. So he's not really a Time Lord. He's kind of like half Time Lord, and then Donna became half Time Lord. I feel like it was a big theme in this series, because you had Jenny before, and what is it to be a Time Lord, that they were talking about it like, oh, you haven't had this shared experience and you haven't gone through the suffering, so even though you're 100% genetically a Time Lord, you're not a Time Lord. And then you have two characters who are only part-Time Lord, but they have all the Doctor 2.0 had all the experiences of the first Doctor. So I wish all of that had been explored a lot more. It's such a fascinating idea to me. And I'm that kind of person. I like to know. I just like to know all that kind of stuff. So I think it would have been a really great exploration of what it is to be a Time Lord versus a Gallifreyan versus, a cloned copy versus a mix versus all that stuff. I remember when I watched Journey's End and saw the ending with Rose and Doctor 2.0, new Doctor 2, I don't know, 10B. And I remember thinking, I like how this is ending, but there's just something that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I think it is just that I would have wanted more time with that resolution. And they just didn't have any, because there was just so much plot and so many characters, and there's only so much that you can do. But I think that just sort of reinforces that maybe introducing elements a little before and then building to it a little more would have been great. I think with that final two-parter, it was just so great to see everybody again. And the fake out of the Doctor changing. I don't know why they did it that way and then gave him 5 more specials. I think once I've finished all the series and catch up with everybody, I'm a big behind the scenes person. I'm going to be watching all the interviews and reading all the trivia and doing all that stuff. I'm very grateful that they gave him more time to make his exit. But I thought it was interesting that it didn't just happen in the finale. I like that there was more to it. Anyway, those the two-parter finale goes into like my favorite. And on that note, I think the Doctor's daughter would go up there, if only because I love the concept so much. I did like the episode. I don't know that it was like the best episode, but I love that concept so much that I feel like that's going to go on my favorites list. And then, of course, Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. It just had some of my favorite moments and some of my favorite performances. Of course, meeting River. The story of Donna and her husband Lee. Still tragic to me. Even more tragic after now having seen the whole series and knowing that she actually ends up with somebody else. Imagine having experienced a life, albeit not a real one, but experienced a life. And then being torn away from them, but seeing them go and not being able to call out to them. Ugh, it kills me. It still kills me. And just that whole conversation between the Doctor and Donna before they left, where she asked him if he's all right, and he's like, well, I'm always all right. That's another great, like, really subtle scene that I loved. it's one of my favorite moments of the whole series. And another favorite moment that's similar to that was in the Planet of the Ood episode, right after Donna, asked him to take the song away, that she couldn't handle it, and she apologized for it. And just that quick, quiet moment of her apologizing and the doctor just saying, no, it's all right. Like, don't feel bad. He understood so well that it was just overwhelming, and it wasn't a shortcoming. It was just, he understood. And also, now that I think about it, a tiny little bit of foreshadowing of her being overwhelmed by things that are beyond her human mind. Anyway, so those of the series are amongst my favorite. And of the specials, I really loved The Waters of Mars and the second part of End of Time. And I didn't dislike any of the specials either. Everything is either, like, I'm either solidly with it or it's great. Like, there were no real low points for me. I mean, I even like the Master a lot better, so go figure. Even the ones that didn't make my, like, top favorites, they still had great moments and great performances and really interesting stories. The Christmas specials tend to not grab me the way that the series does. And I think it's because of the lack of a constant companion. Like, I think it's sometimes difficult for just the one episode ones. I mean, unless you're Donna Noble and your personality is like, whoa. I think sometimes it can be difficult to have that much of a presence if you only have the one episode to really connect with the Doctor. Because then it's just kind of the Doctor standing a little outside of the situation and outside of these people, not knowing them very well. And it can still be really great episodes and really good stories, but I definitely prefer when he has an ongoing companion and they both get involved with a story. And that's just a personal preference, I guess. But I think that's why the specials rarely strike me as much as the series episodes do. And as far as a little mini sorting, early on, I was thinking that Donna was kind of Slytherin-like. You know, she had a lot of ambitions to be more adventurous and to experience life in this more grand way. And I think she said, even in Partners in Crime, that scene where she was sitting at the kitchen table and her mom was yammering, like, she said something, her mom quoted her as saying, but I'm cut out for more, or that's not for me. There's something very ambitious about Donna and what she wanted for her life. But over the series, I would place her more in Gryffindor.
Gryffindor!
She had a lot of flaws and fears, but overcame them. And then to take the actions that she did in Turn Left, it's kind of the ultimate Gryffindor. So I'm saying Gryffindor. There's shades of Slytherin. Also some shades of Hufflepuff, too, because family was very important to her, and having a family was very important to her. Yeah, I'm going to put her in Gryffindor. And I do, as always, have to give a shout out to Murray Gold. Great score. Some of my favorite music moments, I think that the whole score for Fires of Pompeii, really just very emotional, amazing. I noticed this series added a lot of brass and a lot of, like, the score was really very cinematic, like, in scope. It was very impressive. And then sort of the oud playing a part in it, the oud song, and sort of opened the door for the chorus and a lot more choral music. It was really great, this series. I kind of miss Martha's theme from last series, but this, like, just the scope of the score was just incredible. And have to give props for a lot of the effects, like the effects in Fires of Pompeii burning. I mean, that was pretty impressive. So this is definitely one of my favorite series, if not the favorite series. It's tough to say because some of my favorite episodes are in the other series. Like series 1 had the Doctor dances and the empty child, and they had Eccleston. And series 2 had Mickey. Hello. Series 3 had some of my favorites, Human Nature and the Family of Blood, and Blink, and Utopia. Oh my gosh. And this whole series had some of my favorite moments. I don't know. I love them all. How can I... See, I can't sort stuff. I can't place one series over another. I just can't do it. So not only did David Tennant get a great send-off, we had Rose ending up with a doctor, which was actually really kind of sweet. She finally got what she actually wanted. You had Martha and Mickey ending up together. I would watch a spinoff, The Adventures of Mickey and Martha. I would totally watch that spinoff. I love Mickey. I will always love Mickey. I adore Martha. They actually make a lot of sense together. It's very cute. And I think kind of in a way quite fitting, because you had Rose pining for the doctor. You had Mickey, who had been pining for Rose, who was pining for the doctor, and then Martha, who was pining for the doctor, and now the two people who cannot be with the people that they originally wanted have found each other. So, and they're just adorable together. I'd watch that spinoff. It's a sad fate for Harriet Jones, and I remain sad about that. But I still maintain that the other parallel world had a Harriet Jones, hopefully not dead in that one. And then Donna kind of getting a very bittersweet ending. But, you know, she got what she wanted. Like what original Donna wanted before all this stuff with the doctor. You know, she has her family and apparently a winning lottery ticket. So she's doing better than I am. So I am getting started with Series 5. I'm really nervous. I feel like I'm starting the show from scratch. But I'd like to thank you guys for sticking with me through Series 4. It's been really fun talking with you about everything. Thank you for tuning in, for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, all that stuff. Huge shout outs to my mods who help me stay spoiler free, and you can help me stay spoiler free too. Don't tell me stuff, which I appreciate. I hope you guys stick around for Series 5. I don't know what's happening. I'm really nervous. Help me. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Let me know your thoughts on this series below. And be sure to join me for Doctor Who Series 5, Episode 1. Thanks, guys. Bye.
That's disgusting. What is that?
An apple. You said you liked them.
No. I love yogurt. Yogurt's my favourite. Give me yogurt.
Just imagine what you're going to do with this. Yep.
I hate yogurt.
What is it? What's wrong with you?
Wrong with me? You're Scottish. Fry something. Bacon. That's bacon. Are you trying to poison me? Beans. These are evil.
You should maybe stop trying for a while.
Fish fingers and custard.
No.